Hello my dear students. Today in this video we are going to start with a new chapter, that is the basic concepts of OOP. Here OOP actually stands for Object Oriented Programming. So the total weightage given for this chapter is the 7 marks. One question you can expect of 2 marks and one question of 5 marks, so total 7 marks. Okay, let us begin with this chapter. Before we start with this OOPs, let us see some of the previous programming techniques that had come into existence and what were their drawbacks of these programming techniques, so that there was a development of the object-oriented programming technique. Basically, there were 3 different programming techniques. The first is procedural programming technique, structured programming technique, and object-oriented programming technique. Based upon these programming techniques, the different programming language were being developed like Pascal, Fortran, C, C++, Java, Visual Basic, etc. There are many different kinds of programming language. So the first Pascal and the Fortran programming language were making use of the procedure programming technique. Okay, based upon these programming techniques only the programming language had come into existence. So the example for procedure programming language, procedure programming technique is the Pascal and the Fortran. Whereas in case of the structured programming language, for a structured programming technique, C is the example. Then object-oriented programming techniques like C++, Java, okay, Visual Basic. These are the different programming languages which are the examples for the object-oriented programming. Nowadays, all the high-level programming language with the new upcoming programming language will support for the object-oriented programming. So let us move on to just a small introduction. We will see what was the need for having the object-oriented programming when we had the procedure and the structured programming. So just we'll have a glimpse on how was the procedure programming and the structured programming was. Procedure programming technique was one of the most simplest form of programming technique, okay, that had only one main function within which procedures were being written in order to complete the task. Here in case of procedure programming technique, it mainly focused on the algorithms or on the procedure rather than the data. So this procedure programming was very much well suited for the simple programs, okay, but it couldn't solve for the complex programs efficiently. Okay, as they mainly focused on the procedure, the length of the program was increased. For an example, a program that has to perform 5 different tasks like arithmetic operations, trigonometric operations, logical operations, relation operations, and the bitwise. All these 5 different tasks to be written in a single program. Okay, and these procedure programming were making use of the jumping statements like goto statements, where the control would make to jump from one step to the another. Hence it was very difficult to understand the implement the complex problems. So this procedure program were mainly concentrating on the procedures, and mainly they also use the jumping statements. Okay, as they use the jumping statements, the length of the programs were increased. So this was the major drawback of the procedure program, which gave the new program technology to come into existence, that was a structured programming. As I said in the example, that a single program has to perform 5 different tasks, means they were always concentrating on the procedure rather than concentrating on the data. So when you are following the procedure, obviously the length of the program would be delayed. Even in the real life also, if you go according to the rules and the regulation, if you start working, obviously there would be a delay, right? Same case was in case with the procedure programming. They mainly concentrated on the procedures or on the algorithms. That made the programs very much lengthier. Then came the new programming techniques which in existence, that is the structured programming language. So this structured programming, it was a kind of an organized approach, okay, that made use of the control statements like selection statements and the iteration statements, such as if else, else if ladder, okay, for loop, and then while, do while, all such, well organized, disciplined control statement the structured programming made use. This structured programming mainly worked upon the principle known as the top-down approach. Now, what is this top-down approach is? This is how the program design would be. Actually, in case of top-down approach, the large program would be broken down into the smaller program, and these smaller programs were again broken down into the sub-programs, still more smaller programs, and this division of the program would take place until you reach to the desired solution. Because of this top-down approach, the structured programming language, lacked in clarity, reliability. Okay, program maintenance would be difficult because the program length would grow in size. That is why a new programming technique came into existence, that was the object-oriented programming. Both the major drawback in both the procedure programming as well as structured programming was that they were unable to implement the real world problems using their techniques. Hence, the object-oriented programming technique had come into existence. This object-oriented programming, it actually makes use of the modular approach to solve the problems. What is this modular approach? Is nothing but it actually follows, or it works based upon the bottom-up approach. Now, bottom-up approach is where the main focus or emphasis is given on the data rather than following any kind of procedure. I can give an example. A program should perform the 5 tasks maybe, or a program should perform the 2 tasks. Like for example, it should perform arithmetic operation and it should perform the trigonometric operation. Then I would design first, I would write the code first for the arithmetic program to perform. Then I would write the code to perform the trigonometric functions, and then I would combine them. Then I would link that code to my main function. Understood? Then if bottom-up approach is very much popular, why? Because modifications are easy. See, maybe right now only 2 operations the user may say for us to do. Again, if I want still more 2 operations to be added into my program, that means my program should also perform the logical operations as well as the relational operation. Then what I do is, again I'll write separately code for the logical operations, and then I would like to write the separate code for the relational operations. Then I would combine those 2, and then I would just link them to my main program. So modification would not disturb the existing code which I had already written for this arithmetic program and the trigonometric function. So this kind of approach is nothing but the bottom-up approach. Okay, I hope you are understanding. Here, in case of object-oriented programming, the basic element of the OOPS is that data. Mainly it concentrated on the data. What exactly I want, first we design that rather than following any kind of procedures or the algorithms. Okay, in our next topic, we would like to study the different characteristics of the OOPS. So before to that, I will just show one example in the bottom-up approach. If I have a problem like to solve the sorting of n numbers maybe in ascending order. I have been given with the 3 numbers 25, 10 and 5. So in case of bottom-up approach, I need to sort the given numbers. First, I will design in such a way that I need to compare the first 2 numbers. I'll compare the first 2 numbers, then I would exchange, then I would link it to the main program. So comparison takes place 25 and 10. So which is the lesser one? 25 and 10. The 10 is the lesser one. So exchanging takes place. So 10, 25 and then 5. Again the 25 will be compared with the 5. Okay. Then it will exchange with, how it will be after exchange, I would get as 10, 5 and 25. Again 5 is compared with the first element, that is 10. Like this, I would like to design the first, I would concentrate on the data rather than following any kind of procedure. So first I will build the comparison code, then I would exchange, then I would write the code for exchange, then I would link it to my main program, that is nothing but the sorting of n numbers. So this is how the bottom-up approach will be followed by the OOPS concepts. Now let us see based on what characteristics our OOPS programming technique is working. So we are having almost 8 different characteristics based upon which object-oriented programming technique is working. The first is objects, classes, data abstraction, data encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism or overloading, dynamic binding, and the last is message passing. Now let us see what are these objects are. Okay. So see, these are certain basics of OOPS concepts. Fine. So the objects are the basic building blocks for designing the programs. It is a collection of the data members and the associated members. Now what is this object? I'll give an example. Any real-time entity in the sense thing, any real-time entity or the thing that is capable of exhibiting any kinds of characters and the behavior, then I can call it as an object. I'll give an example for the object as a pen. When I have a pen, it's a real-time entity or a real-time thing. Okay, this pen is having certain its own characteristics and a behavior. What is the characteristic of a pen? That its color. Okay, color might be anything, blue or black. Its color is one of the characteristic, and its height is one of the characteristic, and its width. So these are the characteristics. Then what is the behavior that a pen is exhibiting? Its behavior is to write. So that is nothing but the behavior of a pen. Then I can say call this pen as an object. Similarly, I can give one more example for the object as the car. Okay, a real-time entity. A car is an object. Why? Because a car is also have certain characteristics and a behavior. What might be the characteristics of a car? Car might be having wheels, its model, yes, its price, yes, then year of the manufacturer, maybe certain unique characteristics. So these are the unique that almost all the different kinds of cars will be having these as the common characteristics. Like all the cars are having their own, all are having four wheels, yes, all are having its color, yes, all are having its price. Okay, then it's a model on which year it has come into existence. So these are certain common characteristics that a car can have. Then what are the behaviors of the car? Its speed limits, yes, its mileage. These are certain, a kind of a unique behavior that each car might be having. Then I can say an example for an object as a car. See, any real-time entity that is exhibiting certain characteristics and behavior, I can call it as a object. One more example I can give on a student. A student is also a real-time entity, which is a student is having their own characteristics and a behavior. What might be the characteristics of a student? His name, his register number, and a combination what he is opting. These are the common characteristics that any student might have, right? Then what are the behavior of a student? He can write and he can read. Now these are the these are the behavior what a student is exhibiting. Then I can say that a student is an object. Fine. So that is why in case of object oriented programming language, mainly it is major advantage of using this OOPS concepts is that it can implement the applications or the software on the real time. Okay, hence the OOPS concepts have become very much popular and it is widely been accepted by all the programming languages. Now these objects are usually said as the basic building blocks for the designing programs. It is a collection of data members. Data members are nothing but the characters what I was telling, and it is also associated with the member functions are nothing but the behavior. As I gave an example of a pen. Pen is having its own characteristics like its height, its color, and its width. Those are nothing but the data members. And what kind of function or the behavior it is exhibiting is it is write. That is nothing but the behavior is nothing but the member functions. Another definition also of object you can see. An object is a real world element which is an identifiable entity. Entity in the sense of thing, okay, with certain characters known as the data members and behavior known as the member function. I can give an example here. You can see there are two different objects, that is a student and the teacher. Student are having their own characteristics which are called as the member data like name, register number, and a course. Almost all the students will be having this as the common characteristics. And what are the behavior that a student can exhibit? It's here is read and write actually. Now here we have taken the member functions as a get data and the display. I'll explain you what are these member functions, like why we have taken as get data and the display. Similarly, we have one more object known as the teacher. Okay, here also we are having a certain characteristics, common characteristic that any teacher can have, that is a name, subject which they are teaching, and then course. Fine. Similarly, what might be the member function of this teacher? What might be the behavior? That is, teaching is the behavior of a teacher. Here in this example, again we have taken the get data and the display as the member functions. Get data in the sense it is actually asking the user to enter the name, subject and the course. That means we are able to access these data members. Only the member functions which are included in these objects have then access to this name, subject and the course. No any other different functions can access these data members. So this part I will explain in when I'll be discussing about the class. I hope you are able to understand what is an object. It's a building block. It's a building block for designing any of the program that have its own kind of characteristics and own kind of behaviors. Okay. Now each object is being identified by a unique name. Okay, it might be a car, pen, student, teacher, person, or a shapes. Shape is also an object. Okay, any real-time entity can be that is having its own characteristics and behavior. I can call it as an object, and each object will be identified by their unique name, and every object must be a member of a particular class. Okay, now I can give an example here. See here. This is a car and this is also a car. 3 different cars I am having. I can say that this car, these 3 cars are an object. Okay, this might be a Maruti, this might be a Volkswagen, it might be a some other Esteem. These are the 3 different cars. 3 different, let it be they are 3 different, they are having a common characteristics among them, then and behavior. So I can call each one of the car as an object. Understood? Then look at this slide. So this image here, bicycle, I can say it as an object because it's a real-time entity. A bicycle have its own characteristics and behavior. What are the characteristics a bicycle can have? Gear, okay, pedal, speed, okay, which are nothing but the data members. Then what are the functionalities or the member functions, okay, of this bicycle object is applying brakes, changing the gears. Based on gears also there are different kinds of models, right? Hence I can say the bicycle to be as an object. So like this, every object will be having the different unique name they will be having, and always they should belong to a member of a particular class. Then these 3, maybe I said this is Maruti, Volkswagen and this is Esteem. They all belong to a one common class known as the car as a class name here. And these objects usually take up the memory space and have the address associated with them. Like for an example, when I say the object as a student, the information of this student should be placed in the memory, in the computer's memory, isn't it? When we store into the computer's memory, obviously we need to access, as and when we need to have an access to the computer memory in order to display this name, register, number, course. Here I said member functions as get data and display. Get data's job is to accept the data from the user, the name, register, number and the course, and the display functionality is to print the name, register number and the course. So when you ask the user, obviously you need to store it in the computer memory. Yes or no? That is why these objects usually take the space in the memory, and when I'm fetching the data from the computer memory, I need to have an address, isn't it? Therefore, they take up the space in memory, plus they are also associated with the address. So these all things I'll explain with one more different example when I'll be discussing about the classes. And objects can interact by sending the messages and without having to know the details of data or the functions with another object. See here, an object called student can interact with an object called as a teacher, okay, by sending the messages. without knowing the background details, without her knowing the details, what are the functions or the data members the teacher is having. Okay, teacher can also communicate with the student without knowing what are this data members and what different kinds of functions that student is holding. So object communication is also possible. Now here one more example I can show here. A car is an object which is having its own properties, in the sense the data members, and the character behavior in the sense methods. These are different terminologies. That's it. Make, that means manufacturer, date. This model, okay, might be a characteristic, color, year, price. They are all coming under the characteristics, that is the data members. And what are the different behavior method? Maybe a start, okay, then the drive processes might be the unique features of this particular car. Now here I can say that object 1 might be a student, might be a teacher, okay, might be a principal. So there are 3 different objects present here. They can communicate with each other by passing the message. Understood? Without knowing that what does this student is having their own properties and the methods, without knowing what exactly the teacher is having their own properties, in the sense the data members, method in the sense as the characteristics. I hope the concept of object is clear to you all. Thank you. Furthermore characteristics of OOPS we will discuss in our next video. Take care of yourself. Thank you, students.